Good morning, everyone. My name is Stafford Kendall, and I'm the co-owner of Covalent Logic. We're holding this seminar this morning because Google Analytics is changing, and we wanted to share some of that with our clients. After we scheduled the seminar, the Louisiana Association of Nonprofit Organizations asked if it would be possible to share with some of their membership, and we opened it up. As a supporter of LANO, we wanted to be sure that the nonprofits in the state would be able to get the same training that our commercial clients get. So, just a little bit of housekeeping. The bathrooms are down the hall to the right. No, I'm just kidding. The panel which you have for GoToWebinar on the side should allow you to raise your hand or ask a question. At any time you need more clarification on something, feel free to do that. I have two members of my staff on the line with me, and that's Jenny Cornuda. Say hello, Jenny.
Hello, everyone.
Oh. Yay. And Brett Troxler.
Hey, everybody.
Both of them will be monitoring to make sure that I don't miss when you raise your hands or when you ask a question. While this is very much, official technology, it's an open forum for you to interrupt because we've got a few dozen people involved. I've got you all on mute, so hopefully that doesn't interfere with your ability to grab me if you need help. Also, most of the Covalent Logic clients have Google Analytics installed on their sites. If you don't know how to access this, after the call you can call into the office and we'll make sure that you know how to access your Google Analytics account. And for anybody who doesn't have Google Analytics on their site, it's a free tool. Your webmaster can install it on your site pretty quickly and easily, so it shouldn't cost you much in programming time. And it allows you to do some really interesting things. So, all of that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Jenny and Brett, be sure to watch for questions and interrupt me if you have somebody asking a question. So, the old version of Google Analytics looks like this. It's become pretty familiar to most of our clients, and they've been good at getting around in it. Google recently announced a beta of the new Google Analytics, which looks like this. And as we started looking at it, we realized that there are a lot of changes involved. So we wanted to make sure that we got everybody oriented into what's going on. When you log in, you can see all of the sites that you have access to. Now, because we host websites and build websites, I have access to a lot of accounts. You'll have many fewer in your world, so you won't have to do what I do, which is search for the sites which I am looking for. When I start searching, it pulls up. I'm going to be showing you the analytics on covalentlogic.com, which is our website. It has a few interesting things about it, but you're going to be looking at very low traffic numbers. One of the things that I always talk about is that the amount of traffic you have doesn't matter nearly as much as what you do with that traffic. So even when I look at our site's traffic, there are things that I can do to improve the navigation of the site. So you come in and you can click just directly on the site that you want to look at. It instantly brings you into the My Site window. In the My Site window, I can switch to a different site by scrolling down on the side. I can change the settings of this site, which we'll go into in a second, by clicking over here. And I've also got dashboards. The old Google Analytics started with dashboards, and you only had one dashboard. But the neat thing about this site is that you can create different dashboards for different processes. And I'll show you how that works in just a few minutes. So, generally, where you start is looking at this world. I'll go ahead and start on this dashboard. In this dashboard, I get some basic reporting on what's going on the site. I can look at a timeline. I can look, and when I mouse over, it shows me specifically how many visits and how many visitors. So 51 visits means 51 times someone came to the site and clicked around on it. 42 visitors means that it was 42 people who came 51 times on Monday, July 11th. If you watch the traffic, they generally traffic together because most people on my site don't come back more than once in a day. But on your site, you may see people come in regularly. The other thing that you can do on this dashboard that's important is to look at the date range. So I can say, I want to look just at last week. Whoops, click there, that, through there, and apply. And now I'm looking at the traffic of just 1 week to see what happened and what was interesting. I think we put something out on July 6th, so that's why the traffic popped. I can also compare to the past, where it will automatically compare to the same date range, which allows you to compare Monday over Monday or Wednesday over Wednesday, because internet traffic tends to flow Saturdays and Sundays as being very low traffic days, and then during the week, while people are at work, they tend to traffic the web quite a bit more. So in this way, I can look at what happened with visits and visitors compared day over day. As I look at this, I should have an inclination for why more people came this week or last week on a particular day. But if you don't, that's when you can dig in and figure out what happened on that day to make us popular. When I go into my site, I get the different reports which are available. In the new Google Analytics, they're broken into 4 categories: visitors, traffic sources, content, and conversions. This makes it easier to control more information. The new Google Analytics integrates with AdWords. It also integrates with Google Site Search and social media actions. In order to do those 3 things, you have to tweak the settings on your Google Analytics. So if you're using Google Search, you have to go in and add that particular thing, and that's another thing that we can do for our Covalent Logic clients after the call. For the social plugin, you have to add code to the site, which pulls in the social, which can be really fascinating because it lets you know who's sharing your site through Twitter or Facebook and what actions people are taking in those media. I'm going to start with the basic reports, which is visitors. Visitors is important because it lets you know who the people are who are coming. There are 5 sections underneath them, and the first is demographics. One of my favorites is location, because it lets me see, wow, one person came from Russia, and I can look at individual countries. But if I click on the United States, I can see how well we're doing throughout the U.S. Again, this is showing us over a month period, but I could change it to show a different period if I wanted to. In all of the Google Analytics reports, they take on this format where there are other things that I can click on and it will change what it's showing. So apparently people in Arkansas spent more time looking at more pages on the site than people in Louisiana did per visit. The average time on the site, people in Arkansas spent more time on the site, as did people in California or Illinois more than people in Louisiana. New visits. So this is people who haven't ever been to our site before who came in during the last month. You'll notice that in Louisiana, the percentage of new visits is lower because it's more likely that someone in the state that we're from would have come back again. And then as you go, you look at new visits and it colorizes the map for you. It also builds a chart below where you can literally see the number of people. Louisiana, visits was 331, pages per visit, time on site, new visits, and the bounce rate. The bounce rate is interesting because it's when someone comes in, they look at one page and they go away. The lower your bounce rate is, the more likely it is that the pages people are coming in on is captivating them in some way. And you want to captivate your site visitors as much as you possibly can. There are other things over here. You can put in custom variables. You can define variables. If you have a dynamic website, then you're able to build these things to fit along with your content management system. And that can be interesting if you've got a specific strategic goal that you're trying to maximize so that you're able to watch those people more carefully. The next section that I spend a good bit of time on is behavior. This is where we get new versus returning visitors. And we can look at 70% were new, 30% almost were returning, and you would want to maximize this returning visitors. So one of the ways you can do that is capturing email addresses and sending out a mass mail saying, hey, come back and look at this new thing we've got on the site. The other way is by regularly updating your site. People come to know that there's a reason to come back from time to time. Frequency and recency is equally interesting because it lets you know these are people who came once and what they did and what percentage of the total they are. And then what's interesting is you go to came twice, came 3 times, and then you get into came 101 to 200 times. Almost everyone will show a similar arc to this, although it won't necessarily be as extreme. The next build is technology. This can be really exciting and handy when you go to redesign your site, because if you look at the browser and operating system combinations, then it lets you know how many people are coming in through Internet Explorer, how many people are coming in through an Android browser on their phone. It lets you know what you should be designing for and what you should be testing in. So I look at this and I see 94 visits, or 17% of people came in through Chrome. That means that we needed to be focusing on testing in that environment. Likewise, when I go in and look at the network that they're using, oh wait, let me go back to browser and OS. Across the top here, I can see operating system to see how many people come in Windows, how many people come in Macs, iPhone, iPad, Android, and it lets me know what my breakdown is between PC and Mac users especially, and then specific phone systems are now being captured. Screen resolution lets you know what screen resolution you should be designing for. So as you notice here, back in the day, we always designed for 800 by 600 pixels, and it has moved so that no one comes in the top 10 in that list for me. If I want to look at everyone who came in this case, I've got, this is showing 1 to 10 of 54. So if I say show 100 rows, it's going to show me every single browser screen resolution that comes in. What's interesting is when you look at this list, you've got very, very high resolutions showing that people have bigger screens, bigger monitors that they're working with now, and very, very tiny ones showing the people who come in on their phones. Maximizing for mobile has become very popular in the last year or two, so that you can make sure that your site is visible to people coming in on smartphones as usage increases to those things. Screen colors rarely matters now. However, you do get a feel for how many people are coming in on a grayscale version on their phone. It's nice to test in grayscale because that also helps you test for colorblind folks and make sure that you've covered them. Flash version is important on our site because we have a Flash website, primarily Flash when you come in. So this lets you know what version of Flash people have on their browsers, so what should you be designing for. The next choice is social, which we haven't enacted in our site, but like I said, it starts to show you engagement and how many people are looking through Facebook and everything else. You'll notice it seems like there's a report here, but when you scroll down, not socially engaged is the option. Mobile is interesting because you get to see how many people came in through a mobile version and which particular devices they used. You'll notice that Apple iPad, it keeps getting more and more and more as we go up. So that pretty much lets you know everything about the visitors who come to your site. Traffic sources is important as you are thinking about marketing your site, not so much for what you've got on it, but for how people come to it. And there are 3 ways that people come to your site, 3 sources. One is direct traffic. This means they typed in the web address to their browser, or they clicked on an email, on a link in an email. Referrals means another website had a link to your website, and then search shows how many people come in through Google or Yahoo or Bing or any other number of search engines that are out there. You should focus on making this 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. So when something is big, you know you're doing that very well, and when something is small, you know you're doing it not as well. So when I look at each of these things, direct traffic, knowing that direct traffic is 26% of total visits, I'm not maximizing that as well as I should. I can look at the page that people come into. What's interesting is this page is the page to sign up for this Google Analytics webinar. So I can see that 21 of our visits came in directly on that page. Well, when I look at that page, I should think about the fact that people are coming in here. They don't know us. They're not coming in through our home page. So what things could I do to this page to make it more clear? I could add something about who is Covalent Logic, which would draw people in to learn more about our company and not assume that people know where it is that they have landed. I could add things about go and read from our knowledge base. You'll notice, too, that because I've clicked on this page while I'm logged into Google Analytics, it has given me a visual guide to what happens on this page. I know that 10% of the people who came to this page clicked on that particular link, the Knowledge Home. When I look at that, I know that 50% of those people were from outside, or all of those people were from outside of Louisiana, which is fascinating. The interactive link was clicked on by a Baton Rouge visitor. I can see that up here. And the login link was also clicked on by a Baton Rouge visitor. When I look at this knowledge base home, I can now see that when people landed on that, what did they click on? 20% of them clicked on the main story. Approximately 35% of them linked somewhere else in navigation. 10% clicked on this story, 5% clicked on archives, and 5% clicked on that story. It becomes fascinating to watch the traffic as people go through your site, and this visual view can be incredibly handy. So going back into the direct traffic. Yeah.
Lindsay has a question.
Okay, great. Hey, Lindsay, how are you? Hey, Lindsay, you're unmuted, so you don't have to type your question. You can just ask it.
I don't have a mic.
Oh, you do have a mic. We can hear you just fine.
Oh, I do. Okay, I didn't know I had a mic. Okay, my question is, how do I get that site overlay? I think I missed something. I mean, I've got
Yeah.
my Google Analytics up, and I can't figure out how to do it.
Are you on the new version of
I am
Google
on the
Analytics?
new version, yes.
Because it seems to just automatically do it for me.
Well,
there
so
is
in the old version, I used to just be able to click on, there used to be like a little thing that, would pop it out so you could see what that page was, but I don't see that now.
yeah,
So that's what I used
right,
to
there
do to
used
get
to be
it.
the site overlay link, but now they're saying, and again, this is still in beta, but they're saying that it just happens automatically when you are logged into Google Analytics. I'll look and see if there's another way and have Jenny get back to you after the webinar to find out if there's a particular link. One of the things about a beta is that things work in some browsers and they don't work in other browsers. So I'm in Firefox. It brought me over. But we'll find out if there's a particular link that'll work for you.
Okay, thank you.
And a way to turn that on. That's odd. Good question, though, because that was one of the things when I first started looking at the new Google Analytics. I started looking for, where do I find the thing that I used to have? They have a little thing in the help right now, find your old reports in the new interface, and that will walk you through finding, it used to be here, now it's here, which can be really handy, and I was able to find a couple of things that way when I first got in. Going back into this direct traffic, the main point is your website does not always start with your home page. So if you look at this direct traffic list and you see pages that people are coming in through and you need to know what they're doing, the new Google Analytics allows you to click on one of these pages and it will pull up the traffic of that particular page and let you see what's the bounce rate on that particular page. 84% of people came into this page and then didn't do anything else. So it emphasizes the importance of maximizing each and every page of your site and not looking at it as they start on the home page, they go where I want them to go, then they click through to the rest of the site. In referrals, if I look at this, I've got 44% of my total visits from referrals. Well, that's because most of the sites that we build have a small link to site designed by Covalent Logic. If I look at that, I can see where the traffic is coming from. Most of it's coming from Breck, but then second is Twitter, and then the Hilton Global Media Center, and then Facebook. This emphasizes the importance of social media on driving traffic into your site. If I look at new visits and I click on it, it'll sort it for me by this particular metric. So here I can look at 100% of the people who came from here were new visits. You can actually set up on your site, and it takes a little bit of programming, a referral tracker so that if someone came from a particular site, your site could give them something different. It could give them a pop-up window which says, welcome entrepreneur to the people who come from this site. It could give a pop-up based on any other concept that you've got. So if I look at new visits and the number of visits, then it's possible I need to do something to maximize for these site visitors more than any others. I can also pull a secondary dimension, and what this does is it changes the chart to pull in something else of interest. So in this case, I'm going to say I want the secondary dimension to be region, which allows me to see how many people came from a particular place. I'm going to resort this by visits. So I look at Twitter from Louisiana versus, again, I should extend this to 100, versus Twitter from other places, which if I sort by source, it'll be easier to see. there we go, Twitter Louisiana, the API for Twitter, which most people don't actually go directly through Twitter from Louisiana. Every so often you'll see something that gets to be fascinating, like here for the Hilton Global Media Center, I've got people coming from Asia, I've got people coming from England, all different states as I go down. The majority of them are still coming from Louisiana because that's the majority of the folks who know us well. I can remove that particular dimension by clicking on it and saying no. But you can add any dimension that you want to, and dimensions are just these guys on the left. So when I look at which particular campaign they came from or which browser they're using, it allows you to much more easily look at a matrix of information rather than looking at a particular thing. The other thing that Google Analytics does is they put these little question marks in a circle everywhere. So when you mouse over them, they tell you the definition of that particular thing that you're looking at, which can be really nice if you're looking at something and you say, I have no idea what this particular metric means or what these words mean. You'll also notice that in referral traffic, it's still showing me other metrics of importance. So referrers spend 42% more time on our site than people come to it directly or through search. They're 8% less likely to be a new visitor. They're 0.05% more likely to just hit one page than someone who comes in through search or anything else. They're 2% more pages per visit. So while they're more likely to just hit one page, they are more likely to spend time on more pages. So you start working out the numbers and it gets to be interesting as you're trying to think about what to do with these site visitors. So for instance, one of the things that we have talked about in our world is the idea of instead of having the little logos land on our home page, having them land on the case study page about that particular site. So rather, if you look at the site through Lindsay's site, which is dcfs.louisiana.gov, you would land on a page which described what we did for dcfs.louisiana.gov, which could be more interesting to the site visitor and lead to more time on the site and lead to more pages trafficked. The third way that people come in...
Stafford?
Yeah.
We have a question from Maggie.
Okay, great. Hey, Maggie, how are you? Oh. Hey, Maggie, we can hear you. Maggie can't speak in the office, so she is going to, oh, when you open your site's Google Analytics, it doesn't open as a beta. Good question. All right. If you go up here at the top where it says old version, you should be able to see it where it says old version, make old version default. When you're in the old version, you should see in red new version, and that should bring you in. And then you start back at the beginning in the traffic. Hey, Brett, can you talk back and forth with Maggie and make sure that that question gets resolved so that she can see it in case it isn't working on her version of Google Analytics? The beta,
yeah, she got it.
Okay, great. Good deal. The new version used to only be available to certain people, but they've made it available now to everyone, indicating that they are moving forward in their beta and will soon switch over where you can't get to the old version anymore. Again, one of the reasons that we're trying to get this focused on for everybody in our world. Inside search, I can look at an overview and see what search visitors did. Search visitors were less likely to be new visits, which is interesting, but more likely to spend more pages per visit and have a bounce rate. Search, in this case, shows 78% of total visits are organic search. Sorry, it's flying to us here. There we go. Inside those organic visits, I can then go and look at what, ooh, that's why I'm switched to a different site. I am so sorry about that. Let me, it defaulted to being on the first site in my list. There we go, much better. So we're looking at 28.65% of total visits, and I can look at what those people do. Average time on site is much less. Here I can look at what people searched on to find us. Most of them searched for the name of our company. That's particularly handy to me. I can look at this, and it's interesting. Covalent Logic, 69% bounce rate. Came in and saw one page. If they just looked for the word covalent, indicating they may not be looking for us, 75% bounce rate. But it means that 25% of people out there in looking for me and my company just searched for the word covalent, which seems to track along with the things that we know that people just call us covalent instead of calling us Covalent Logic. I can look in here at the source, and it'll show me what the top search engines are for me. Google, of course, trumps everything and has for about the last 6 or 7 years. Bing is finally starting to kind of catch hold. I don't even know what Naver is, so it encourages me to go out there and find out. Then for search visitors, I can look at the landing page. So search visitors are most likely to come in on this particular article, which fascinates me enough that I'm going to interrupt just long enough to find out what article it is. Nice. Size does matter. A story that we did about font size, and that's the most popular article in our knowledge base for people to come in through search. It's really kind of fascinating when I think about it. You also, if you do paid search through Google, you can get reports directly on that. We don't, so there's nothing to see there. And then if you do AdWords campaigns, which is the Google Advertising Network, which runs on google.com and also runs on other sites in the Google network, as well as people can opt into the Google AdWords program on their own site. And publishers who opt into the Google Ad Network actually get paid based on the ads that appear on their site. You can integrate your AdWords account with your Google Analytics so that you can then see how paid search is working for you, how the AdWords campaigns are working for you, and what happens to those people versus people who find you organically. Generally what you'll find, and I can't show you any of our clients' data on this, but generally what you'll find is that people who click on paid search placements or on an AdWords ad spend more time on your site, explore it more. They're more likely to be more interested in you in comparison to organic site visitors. The last area over here I'm going to focus on is the content area. Because one of the things that Covalent Logic focuses on is high content websites, keeping them organized and allowing our clients to update their sites themselves. Content is the most common area that our sites, that our webmasters visit to find out what's popular. In this world, I can look at a basic view, but I almost always jump into site content, where I can look at the pages. Which pages of the site are looked at more than any other? When I click on a given page, I'll look at the Contact Us page. It gives me a quick view of how many people viewed that page, how many of them were unique, how much time they spent on the page, and how many people exited. I would expect that this would actually have a higher rate of exit than it does, because I would expect that the last thing people do on the site is send an email in to contact us. But apparently little less than half of the people who visit this page continue visiting our site and looking at other content. I'm going to go back real quick so that I can hit this navigation summary, because this is really the key to what makes the new Google Analytics better, in my opinion. You used to have to go into a path funnel in order to find this information, and I'll explain what it is. This is the page that I'm looking at, the Contact Us page. This is entrances that came in to that page. 8% of the people who came in just came to the Contact Us page. 91.43% came from a previous page. Which previous page did they come from? And that's where I get to look at it. It came from the home page. So people hit our home page and go straight to the Contact Us page. Next page path also becomes fascinating. They come from the home page, they hit our Contact Us page, and then they go back to the home page. Or they came in from the entrance, and then they might hit another page within the site. So here I can actually see what are they doing before they hit a page and after they hit a page. I'm going to go and grab a different page. And the one I'm going to grab is the page for this particular webinar. So y'all all went into that page in order to explore. 93% of you came directly from an email that you got or from another site that referred you to it. And then what did you do afterwards? 69% of you clicked on probably to register for the webinar, or decided it wasn't, or some of those people decided it wasn't something of interest for them. 30% of people clicked on another page to read more, and I can go and I can look and see what those particular pages were. I believe this is still, oh, there we go. So here I've got a drop down where I can switch to a different page if I want to look at that page and see what happened in its world. As I go through, I can keep clicking through. So if I start here and then I say, ooh, then somebody went there, ooh, then they went there, ooh, then they went there, and watching the traffic through the site allows me to look at individual paths. The more we think about interactive and integrated communications, as the world is changing, the more we think about each individual site visitor and their journey through the site as being important. The more you can do to maximize these click paths, the better off you'll be at serving your audience, because it's really half of a site's success is you being able to give people what you want to give them. But about half of it is based on you being able to give them what they want and being able to deliver it to them more quickly, being able to deliver it to them in a better way. I often go to this landing page list, and I look and I start looking at if somebody landed on this page and it was the first page they saw of my site, what would they see? What would be missing? What embedded links, meaning links inside of the paragraphs of text, can I add that would encourage them to spend more time on the site or look at more traffic? And if you start maximizing some of these pieces of content within your site, you'll begin to see a lot more information that is interesting. On most site title becomes very handy. On mine, because it's a flash site, almost every page has the same page title. But you may very much want to move from this world where you are looking at page addresses to the world where you're looking at page titles. The final thing in the site content area is exit pages. So you can start looking at these as dead ends on your site, places where people stop interacting with you and decide to interact with the rest of the web. Again, on some of these pages, I wanted people to actively integrate, to do something on the rest of the web. So for instance, on this page, I wanted you to click on the link going off the webinar. Because GoToWebinar does my Google Analytics account, I can't know how many of you landed there. But you can actually put multiple Google Analytics accounts on a site. So if you have 2 sites, you can have each site have its own Google Analytics, and then you can have a master account which controls both of those sites and tracks them equally. So you can watch people bounce back and forth amongst different sites. That, again, can be important as you've grown. It can be important for organizations that have multiple branches, each running their own site. It can also be important when you are looking at a full enterprise for the way it is working. And again, that doesn't mean that the same web developer has to have developed those sites. So if you're working with multiple agencies or with multiple offices or with multiple programs and they each have their own outreach effort, it can often be handy to put 2 or 3 different Google Analytics on a site. The rest of the things in the content area, yeah.
Matt has a question.
Hey, Matt, how are you? You should be able to talk and be unmuted now, but you may not have a, Jenny, can you read his question
No
to
mic.
me? No mic.
Yes, he said, can you see how many visitors Lano's communications?
Ooh, interesting. So I would go up here and I would look at incoming sources, referrals. You know, from the email, I won't be able to see. I'll only be able to see people who came to the website. So I can go up here. I'm going to extend the time to just show from here to today so that I make sure that I capture everything. And then I can either, I'm going to sort this by source so that I look for lano.org. And I don't see it in the list unless y'all are hosted by this group. Oh, wow, this all the time where I'm just looking at 10 and not getting everything. But
He said that there was a news story from their page that might have been a refer, and it also may have come in from Facebook.
right. So we can't differentiate one Facebook from another, and it looks like it was more than likely direct email links that people came in through to get there. I'll demonstrate this just really quick where I go in here and I look at this particular page, which is this Google Analytics webinar, and then I say I want to look at traffic sources and source, and I can look and see that 23 came in directly to this page, 10 came in from Facebook, from Google, Twitter, and then from Braff, which is strange because that's a development site, so who knows how that got there. It's not showing any right now, and it concerns me a little bit because there should have been at least one click. I can also look at the navigation summary for this particular one, but I've showed you that already. I could dig in. How about after this, I'll dig into the reports and see if I can find the Lano people and see what y'all did. Okay. Going back into landing pages, looking at these pages for how they look to a new site visitor who's never been here before. Exit pages, why are they dead ends? Why are people not? Why are people leaving your site? And then, again, site search and AdSense, you can unify those reporting in with Google Analytics and see things better. Oh, look, here's Lindsay's answer. In-page analytics. Ooh, internal error. That's what happens with a beta. That's where you'll be looking for your Insight Analytics. Let's see if it'll open. Nope. This is going to be the link, but it appears to be having an error right now, Lindsay, so maybe that's why it wasn't doing the automatic launch for you. Conversions are very much about goals. So you can create a funnel visualization for a goal. When I look at one of the goals that we've set up for the site is that people log into the knowledge base. That was in the beginning when almost everything in the site was password protected. We wanted people to log in. In this case, I'm looking at the different steps in the path. So if you've got something that you want people to be able to do, you can go in and create a goal for them. I'm going to go up here and just show you very quickly how I create a goal, which is going into the settings function. These are the goals that are set here. And I would say add a new goal. So the goal name is Contact Us. I make it active, and I say I want them to end up on a particular page of my site. And I would put in the address of that page. You'll notice that when I started to type, it dropped down all of the choices that I might want. So it gives me different pages to choose from. Match type, exact match. I usually say head match, because what that means is that if somebody's got another ampersand something off the end of their address, then they'll still get captured in this. I can give this goal a value. I could say that everyone who clicks on the Contact Us page of our site is worth $10 to me, and it will do everything in mathematical computation. So if you have a registration page for an event, then you could say that the confirmation page for that event registration was worth $25. And then you can put in each individual page which leads up to the goal URL. So first they click on the home page, then they click on the calendar of events, then they click on that particular event to find out more information about it, then they click on the sign up page, and then they get the confirmation page. And that will build a funnel which goes through each of the steps. What's neat about it is once you create that goal, you can go back into the goals report. I'm going to discard my changes and watch people go through a particular goal. So watch them. They came in and they went there. Where did they go as they were coming through? Again, this is a pretty boring chart because we're not making people log in anymore. But it lets you know what they did. I'll extend this date range to show a year's worth. And now the chart may be a little bit more fun. So 29% proceeded to the flash version, going through, and logging in. And this shows where they went instead of doing what I wanted them to do as I went. E-commerce, if you use Google Checkout for your payments, you can integrate that in. So you can see when products appear or individual things that people can buy appear and what they do with that. Google's goal in giving you many free products is to integrate them so that they and you can watch more about what happens. And some people have expressed, when I say Google is a free tool, they say, well, what am I giving up? What you give up when you agree to the terms of service is your information in aggregate, which means that Google can't go and say this many people went to the Lano website, but they can go and say and do research on this many people went to nonprofit websites made up of an aggregate of your data. The other things that I'm going to show you are just some quick tools which are handy. Sometimes when you have a budget to do something, you need to prove to somebody how great it was. This allows you to export that information into Excel. I can say just open it right there with Excel, and it pulls that information in for me. In this case, my Excel is set up not to use comma as a delimiter, so it didn't automatically make it beautiful for me. But I can download it and work with it. People who are used to Google Analytics will notice that there is not a PDF option and there is not an email option. As far as we've been able to tell, they graded the scheduling and email options for reports. So my feeling and inclination is they're not going to make the beta the only option until that happens. So for people who, even people who are using new Google Analytics will still need to use the old version to email and schedule. So I'm going to pop back to the old version and let you see how to do that, because it's one of my most favorite things. And here I'm just navigating to find me in the old version and get into the report. So here's old Google Analytics, and if I wanted to get a copy of this, I could export it as a PDF so that I've got a pretty handout that I can give to a board or to a committee or to my boss. I can also click on email, which sets up, I want to send this particular report right now via email to someone. If I wanted to send this to Jenny, I would type in jenny@covalentlogic.com. I'm going to check the box on also send it to me. I'm going to say, here's that report. The report you asked for is attached. Stafford. And you'll see over here it's previewing the email that I'm sending. I want to send her the PDF of it rather than the CSV or the CSV set up for Excel. And then you put in a little CAPTCHA so that it knows you're a human being and not a robot, and you click send, and it just sent this report to Jenny. There you go, Jenny. You can also schedule a report. What's fantastic about this is you can schedule it so it'll send you a report daily each morning, weekly each morning, monthly, or quarterly. You can also set it up where it will send a committee or a board or a group of people within your organization a report each day. So the neat thing is you can go into the content report, which I clicked badly, and go to content by title and say, okay, I would like to every week send this to everybody who is updating a site and say, this is the most popular content on our site this week. It allows you to look brilliant because you seem like you're always Johnny on the spot, always sending that report right on time, and yet you just set up the machine to automatically do it for you. You can include a date comparison or not, and you'll notice that daily is sent in the morning, weekly is sent on Monday, monthly is sent on the first day of the month. You can't set it up where it's going to send it on the 15th of the month or on Tuesdays or anything else. It always has to go out on these particular things. You can also set up multiple reports to go in one email. So if you schedule one, you can have it send the content report and the referrers report and the keywords report and something else. Or you can add particular things to the dashboard. Right now, this is very complicated to do in the new Google Analytics, but in the old one, you just click Add to Dashboard, and it's added it to your dashboard. In the new version, in order to add things to your dashboard right now, but I believe this is going to change, right now you have to go in and say add a widget. I would like to add a pie chart which shows, and I go and I pick something that I want it to show. I want it to show visitors and show that by date. That doesn't really make any sense, but it will if I change it to a timeline. Here we go. Let's go to visit, new visits. There we go. And compare with returning visits. Or compare with visits in general. And I hit save. And now it adds me in a little chart that I want it to be there. But again, in the old version, you could just click add to my dashboard, and they'll be adding that, I'm sure, soon to the new version. In this one, you have to click add widget and actually program what it is that you want to show on your dashboard. I'm going to go through one last tool, and it's again one of my most favorite things. Everything's kind of my most favorite thing. Sorry about that. And that is advanced segments. So when I am looking at the visitors, I might want to segment those people in a different way. And I've set up some advanced segments. Oops, I'm back at the wrong site. So sorry. There we go. So I've set up some advanced segments, and those are Baton Rouge visitors versus people inside Louisiana and outside of Baton Rouge versus people who are outside of Louisiana. And if I apply that to this particular chart, then it starts showing me, what do Baton Rouge visitors do? What about people who are inside the state? And what about people who are outside of the state? And I can watch them traffic the site. So what's interesting is every time Baton Rouge visitors is down, I like to look at why. Wow, people from outside of Louisiana, and watch what they do. I can go in and I can look at their behavior, new versus returning, showing all of those different segments. I can go and I can look at the content that they look at by each individual segment and get a feel for what they're looking at and what other people are looking at. And advanced segments are really easy to set up, even in the new version. So here I say I'd like to make a new custom segment. I give it a name, and in this case we're going to call it New Visitors, although that's an easy segment to use. So we're going to call it Virginia Visitors. So I want to include region, and I pick what it is, containing, and when I start to type this, I can type L and it gives me Louisiana, T and it starts to give me all of those. So I start typing V and it gives me Virginia. And actually I could say Virginia and Tennessee visitors. And then I'm going to get mostly the people who are who work for one of my large clients. So if I say Virginia or Tennessee rather than and I say save this segment. And then I can look at particular, and I can go ahead and get rid of a couple of these. Let's go get rid of this and get rid of this and get rid of this. And now I am looking at just that particular client as compared to all visitors. Hold on, and I will add in all visitors, apply. And then I can watch what they do differently. In this case, it's just barely a blip on the map for that particular segment. But again, you can go in and you can compare individual pieces, parts, new visitors, returning visitors, or you can make your own custom segments. One of the things that I like to do with custom segments is webinar participants. So I'm going to include, based on content, page containing 99, because I know that's the page ID of that page, so I didn't have to know exactly what it was. I just start typing and I get it. And I'm going to say, save this segment. So now, when I go through, I can look at, and I'll look at just the last 2 weeks, because I don't remember what day exactly it was that I put it up. But I can look at webinar participants or people who came to the webinar page. Okay, I need to start it on July 10th. Apply. And I can look at what did those people do differently than all site visitors. I can go in and I can look at anything about them. I can look at location, and it will keep them compared. When I go down here, I can see all visits, webinar participants. So no one went to the webinar page from Texas. Fascinating. Okay, maybe not fascinating, but interesting to me. Landing pages. I can go and look at webinar participants landed there. But did webinar participants, some of them landed on the home page as well. I can look at their technology. Which browsers did webinar participants use more than others? And it's showing me their percentages going down. So generally, webinar participants weren't on an Android. Again, some of the stuff can be really interesting as you dig into it, and some of it you can say, what do I do with this piece of information? That's a really good point where if you are hosted by or a client of Covalent Logic, you start digging into your reports and you give us a call and say, hey, I saw this. What does it mean? Because we look at ourselves as consultants to you, sharing information widely. All right, so let's see. Do we have any other comments or questions? Here now that
Matt had a question, and his question was, what are the top 3 metrics we should all be ready to report about our sites?
Ready to report. Those are charged words, because I think of things in terms of what gives you value. So I'm going to answer 2 questions. And the first is your actual question, Matt, which is when you need to prove things to other people. What you want to report to other people generally is on the main visitors tab. I'm going to pull off this advanced segments really quickly so that we're looking at all visits. Or even on your main dashboard. How many people came in and how many pages did they look at? So visits, you need to know how many visits you had, and then page views, how many pages they looked at. And I'm sorry that I haven't set up my dashboard better in this case. You will want to look at traffic sources, incoming sources. What keywords were people searching for to find you? That's incredibly important because it lets you know, for instance, Hilton is a client. They see people searched for Paris Hilton. They know that that is not a valuable search for them. If I look at people looking for covalent bonds and they ended up on Covalent Logic, then that's not a valuable search for me. The things which will, and location is probably another really important thing because most of the people on the call are operating just within Louisiana. So you may even want to have an advanced segment which excludes everyone outside of Louisiana. as if to say, we don't really care what those people are looking at on our site, and we don't want them to change our metrics in some way. So I would say for what to report to people, it's location, referrers, and visits. For what will teach you the most about your site, which is the things that you need to be looking at most often, it's those three things. Well, traffic, making sure that within traffic sources, that pie of direct referrals and search, hold on just a second, let me get it to come up. There we go. The search, referral, and direct, this pie should be as close as possible to a third, a third, and a third. And that will teach you what you are doing, not wrong, but what you can maximize and optimize in your outreach strategy. The second one is content, and that is looking at what content people are looking at most, and then seeing landing pages and exit pages. And if you maximize your landing pages and your exit pages and fix your traffic sources pie into being a third, and a third, your site's success will dramatically improve. So really, the rest of the charts are lovely and wonderful, but those things are the things which you should be acting on most often. Thank you for the good question, Matt. Any other questions? All right. Well, we appreciate you all coming today. If you have any other questions, you can feel free to email me at stafford@covalentlogic.com. You'll also get an email after this with some contact information on it. Likewise, Covalent Logic clients or potential clients can call in and we'll talk about tweaking your settings however they need to be tweaked to include site search and Google Social. So appreciate you all calling in and look forward to talking to you more about web traffic in the future.